Republicans have drawn blood in that Tennessee Senate race. Dr. Bill Frist upsetting and ousting incumbent Jim Sasser.
A very big Republican gain. Jim Sasser was planning to run for leader of the Democrats in the Senate.
And in the second Tennessee Senate seat open, the Republican Fred Thompson has defeated the Democrat. This is two Republican wins for the Republicans.
Democrat Jim Cooper, not very close to President Clinton, was the author of a competing health care plan.
In the Oklahoma Senate race, the winner is Jim Inhofe. The Republicans make a pickup there, Bill.
That's a pickup, too, for the Republicans, defeating Dave McCurdy, the chairman of the Democratic Leadership Council, a moderate Democratic organization.
Another pickup for the Republicans in the state of Maine. Congresswoman Olympia Snowe wins the Maine seat.
That's George Mitchell's seat. He'll be leaving the Senate, and he'll be turning over his seat to a Republican.
In Massachusetts, CNN tonight declares incumbent Edward Kennedy the winner.
Finally, some good news for the Democrats. Once thought endangered, Republicans fantasized about beating him. They did not do it.
And in Missouri, the Republicans hang on to a seat that was vacated by a Republican, John Ashcroft, the winner.
But John Ashcroft, the Republican who's going to the Senate, is much more conservative than the Senator Danforth he's replacing.
In Maryland, CNN declares Paul Sarbanes, the incumbent, the Democrat, the winner.
He beat Bill Brock, a former senator from Tennessee who wanted to become the new senator from Maryland.
And another Democrat hangs on in the state of Connecticut, Joseph Lieberman. He's the incumbent. He has won.
Never in any serious trouble. He is a moderate Democrat.
Let's go to Delaware. In that Senate race, the winner, William Roth, the incumbent, will go back to Washington.
Democrats had some dreams of defeating Bill Roth. He's 73 years old, I think, because of his longevity, but he survived.
In the state of Texas, the Republicans hold on to the Senate seat held by Kay Bailey Hutchison.
She had some legal problems, but she got through them, and she's been elected now to her first full term in the United States Senate.
And as our viewers are digesting all those numbers, let's take a look and see what the scorecard looks like. Going into the election tonight, the Republicans held 44 Senate seats, the Democrats 56 seats. 22 races are undecided.
41 in the Republican column and 37 Democrats. Bill, these are significant moves up for the Republicans.
5-seat gain by the Republicans so far. 2 in Tennessee, Oklahoma, Maine, and we reported earlier in Ohio. That's 5 out of the 7 they need to get a Republican majority in the United States Senate.
They're getting closer, and we should know perhaps in the next hour whether it's going to happen.
That's right.
All right, we've got some other numbers we want to take a look at. In Massachusetts, the governor's race. This is not going to be a surprise. William Weld, the Republican incumbent, has held on. Bill Schneider?
That's impressive because Massachusetts is one of the most democratic states in the country, and he's a Republican.
In Michigan's gubernatorial race, the winner, John Engler, the incumbent, a Republican.
Yes, he is a very popular Republican. He did a lot to change the school financing system. He's unpopular with the teachers in Michigan, but he won anyway.
And in Illinois, no surprise, Jim Edgar hangs on to that seat for the Republicans.
He defeated a woman Democrat, Dawn Clark Netsch, she's a lakefront liberal candidate who talked about raising taxes to pay for education.
In Kansas, a pickup by the Republicans, Bill Graves.
Yes, that's an important pickup for the governor in Kansas. He replaces Joan Finney, a Democratic woman governor who decided not to run for another term.
And in the neighboring state of Oklahoma, Frank Keating picks up this seat. It was an open seat. He picks it up.
That's right. The Democratic vote split. There was an independent candidate, formerly a Democrat, who split the Democratic vote in Oklahoma.
In Virginia, that Senate race, North and Rahm still too close to call with 27% of our total in. Rob continues slightly ahead of Oliver North with independent Marshall Coleman trailing behind.
We're also still counting the votes in the state of Florida. We only have 3% of the precincts reporting at this hour, 52,000 to 50,000. Jeb Bush is ahead at this hour, but it is very early in the counting.
In West Virginia, the Senate race, no surprise here. Robert Byrd will be going back to Washington for the umpteenth time.
That's the ultimate test of incumbency. He's trying to move the entire federal capital to West Virginia piece by piece. A lot of pork barrel spending in West Virginia.
All right, Bill, some governors, any real surprises in this collection of results?
I think the Kansas governor that went to a Republican is a bit of a surprise, although it's a very Republican state. That looked like it might be a tight race. We're still seeing a very tight race in Florida. Some of the early polls show that Lawton Chiles should win that race, but he's got a real tough fight on his hands with Jeb Bush.
Watergate lawyer, actor Fred Thompson going to Washington. He wore a red plaid shirt in the campaign. He rented a pickup truck and campaigned around the state, trying to look normal.
There are those who say the White House isn't too sad to see Representative Cooper lose that race because he wasn't on the team with Bill Clinton, and he seemed to lose a lot of Democratic support. Of course, they need his vote in the Senate to keep a majority, and they're sad on that account. If they could keep a majority without Cooper in the Senate, I think the White House would be happy to do that.
One of the states where we're still counting some numbers is in Texas, where the Senate race remains unresolved. CNN's Tony Clark is at Richards headquarters. Tony, what are the Richards people saying to you at this hour?
Well, right now everybody is concerned, cautious, waiting right now. The polls across Texas, in much of Texas, have closed, but in areas that are very important to the Richards campaign, like El Paso, the polls are still open. Chuck McDonald, the campaign press spokesman for Ann Richards, and you can hear that the band has just started up here. Chuck, are there reasons to be optimistic? The governor said she's cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, Tony, there are. In El Paso, the vote looks good. In South Texas, it's up 5 to 8% across the board, the turnout. We've got big weights in the last 3 hours of voting in traditional Democratic strongholds in our major cities. So that's very encouraging. If turnout's up, it could be very good for Ann Richards.
The governor said this afternoon that most of her supporters, many of her supporters, would be coming out in the afternoon. She said they are working people, and you say what you're seeing is a large number coming out?
That's right. We were very relieved to see the lines start forming in the working parts of town all over Texas. That's real encouraging. It's going to be a long night, but I think we're going to win this thing.
But even at that, it should be a long night.
Yeah, it's going to be a close race. El Paso, get out there and vote.
Chuck, thank you very much. It should be a long night. This is one of the tight races of the evening. I'm Tony Clark at Ann Richards headquarters. Back to the national desk.
Tony, you're going to need some earplugs before this night is over. Mike Capps is in Austin, too. He's at the George Bush headquarters. What's it like there, Mike?
Well, Bernie, here at the George Bush headquarters, optimism and a lot of confidence, to be quite honest with you. That in spite of the fact that George W. Bush, the son of former President George Bush, is running against a woman who arguably was the most popular governor in Texas since John Conley. This day has been a day of confidence for Mr. Bush, but it's also been a day of levity. It seems that he went away from his home this morning on his way to vote and realized he left his voter registration card at home, but they let him vote anyway. With me is Karen Hughes, who is the communications director for the Bush campaign. He's made a lot of this business of having to redefine himself in light of his father. And I know you had a lot to do with that. How did you do it?
Well, actually, I didn't do it. George Bush did it, and he deserves all the credit in the world. I think what he did, Mike, was he delivered to Texas a very specific and very positive, constructive message of change. If the network polls are true and George ends up winning tonight, this will be a mandate for change in Texas. He talked about better schools in Texas. He talked about reducing crime, building safer neighborhoods, safer streets, and he talked about reforming a welfare system that's spawned a cycle of dependency on government.
What's happened here in Texas? I mean, arguably, things are going pretty well. Why change?
Well, again, I don't think things are going that well. George Bush said all along that if you're happy with the status quo, you should not be for him. What Texans said today is they are not happy. They think we can do better. We can do a better job of educating our children and of protecting our innocent citizens from violent crime, particularly gang violence and the rising incidence of youth violent crime.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Karen
you,
Hughes,
Mike.
Communications Director of the George W. Bush campaign. Now back to the national desk.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, we're going to come back in a minute and talk to Bill Schneider about some interesting exit poll information we're getting.
That's right.
And throughout this night, at the bottom of your screen, you'll be seeing results as we get them in. We'll put them out to you so you can be brought up to speed on other races as we report to you. Back in a moment.
CNN's Campaign USA 94 is brought to you by Chrysler and the new Chrysler Cirrus Sport Sedan, and by Realty World. For help with all your real estate needs, call the Realty World office nearest you today.
When we asked two-time Indy winner Emerson Fittipaldi to be involved in the development of the Chrysler Cirrus, it wasn't to have him help sell the car. It was to have him help refine it. He pushed it to the limits around the track. He made suggestions. The engineers listened. The engineers made suggestions, and he listened. The result of this collaboration is a specially modified double wishbone suspension system unlike any other on the road today. The Chrysler Cirrus. It's not just a step above, it's the new plateau.
Sharon is a successful businesswoman who knows what she wants and usually gets it. Well, she wanted to buy a home. But being single, she didn't know if she could afford the home she had in mind. As her Realty World agent, I explained that today's interest rates and financing options gave her an excellent advantage. We worked out the numbers, and she was surprised at her actual buying power. Wouldn't you know it, we signed a contract in less than a week.
Now more than ever, the right agent makes all the difference in the world. Realty World.